This video is sponsored by LZE Homes, whose mission it is to accelerate the advent of sustainable, healthy living systems around the world. Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. We talk a lot about sustainable energy here on this channel and how Tesla's mission is to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy, because this will all help the climate crisis we're in. But what Tesla is doing is mostly looking at the transportation sector with electric vehicles and energy using the solar roof, power walls, and the energy storage system like the Megapacks. But there are, of course, more to the problem when it comes to our climate crisis. And in this video, I would like to dive into another problem we face that is actually producing more greenhouse gas emission than the entire transportation sector combined. So we can start making even better choices for us and our planet. So let's check it out and let's dive right in. Well, it is all in our interest to get a sustainable future. It's in the word sustainable. If it's not sustainable, it will not work long term. We need to have a sustainable future. That is why it is so important what Tesla is working on and pushing the whole transportation sector to go electric. And it is why they get my full support. And why I also support a company like LZE Home that is actually trying to combine all Tesla's technology into a community. But LZE is doing a lot more than just make everyone in the community drive electric cars running on sunshine and their entire community running on sunshine. They take another very important step to get a sustainable, healthy community. And that is focusing on growing healthy organic vegetables in a sustainable way, because this problem has a bigger impact on the planet's climate crisis than you might think. I know it had a bigger impact than I thought it did. And I'm talking about both the way we make the food we eat, but also, very important, what we eat. And yes, one of the big problems is meat. And just to be clear, I'm not a vegan or vegetarian myself, so I'm not trying to sit here and preach about how good I am and you should all do like I do. No, I'm only starting learning about this, but I'm seeing the huge impact this has on our planet and climate crisis we're in. So I do hope you will watch this video and hopefully learn something as well, and we can discuss it all in the comments below and we can learn together. Because I think when I have a whole YouTube channel dedicated to help Tesla with their mission to get us to a sustainable future, it would be wrong not to talk about something that has an even bigger impact on our climate crisis than the whole transportation sector combined, because that is only part of the problem. Since the entire transportation sector accounts for 21% of the total emission, and road transport, what Tesla is mostly targeting, account for 15% of the total CO2 emission. But animal agriculture is responsible for 18% of the total greenhouse gas emission. If livestock byproducts are taken into account, the animal agriculture is responsible for 51% of the global greenhouse emission. Not to mention, livestock account for 65% of human-related nitrous oxide emission, a greenhouse gas which is about 300 times more disruptive and powerful than carbon dioxide in trapping heat in the atmosphere. This is a big problem for us and our planet. So much so that the United Nations Environment Programme, the UNEP, recently labeled meat as the world's most urgent problem. Wow, that is kind of crazy, because this is not getting as much attention than the CO2 emission of our cars, but it's actually a bigger problem. Also because it is not just about the CO2 emission, but we are destroying a lot of land too. Every second, 1 acre of rainforest is burned for grazing livestock and growing animal food. 91% of deforestation is caused by livestock. Actually, about 45% of the global surface area is used for livestock. That is kind of nuts that almost half of the planet's land is used to produce the meat we eat. But when we are talking about CO2 emission, this really becomes a double-edged sword, because we all know that the rainforest is the planet's lungs that actually helps obtain some of all the CO2 we emit. But at the same time, we are cutting down more forest to make room for even more livestock, producing even more emission. A very bad spiral we are making here, and because of the way we use the land, we are making topsoil erosion and desertification. Fertile soil is being lost every single year, so we need more and more land, cutting down more and more trees, and at the same time our population is growing, so we need more and more food. If we continue doing it the same way we have done so far, we will end up killing this planet. The growth of the world's population is slowing down and has been doing so since 1962, but we are still growing and will continue to do so, and the UN Population Division predicts we will be about 9.7 billion people on the planet by 2050. That is 2 billion more mouths to feed in only about 30 years. And in 2050 is also the year of the Paris Agreement, where a country have to be CO2 neutral, but at the same time we need food and water and energy for 2 billion more people than today. And water consumption is another big problem, not just for meat but in general. I do think when Elon Musk get his Mars colony, they will not be eating any meat at all. One of the most precious things on Mars would be their fresh water. And with the future of fresh water being under threat here on Earth, the United Nations warns that cattle rearing in particular has an utmost impact on water usage. And if we look at a water footprint of a diet, we would be able to produce a whole year worth of food for a vegan for the same amount of water that is used to produce 1 month of food for a meat eater. And that is just normal grown vegetables. When we put vertical farming into the calculation, the water consumption drops even more, actually about 95%. So there is no doubt in my mind that when it comes to the colony on Mars, it will grow all its vegetables in vertical farms and have no meat available. Because to get real meat, they would have to use a lot of water and grains to feed the cow just to get a piece of meat. So it does not make sense to produce meat when we are talking about use of resources. And when we are on Mars and don't have all the resources we do here on Earth, use of resources is going to matter. And when we think of it that way, shouldn't we also think about the way we produce food in the same way here on Earth? Saving our resources, because it is not sustainable what we're doing now. That is also why someone like Alcid eHome Community is going to build vertical farms in their neighborhoods. Because Alcid is actually trying to advance healthy and sustainable living. And the less resources we use, the more sustainable it will be. And of course, for Alcid to produce it in the neighborhood will also mean they will get local grown vegetables, which is also something that is going to matter when it comes to CO2 emission, because they don't need to truck or fly the vegetables for a long way. Because that is also something that is using a lot of CO2. Like here in Denmark, we can find apples from Chile. That is pretty much on the other side of the earth. That simply does not make sense. So for Alcid to grow vegetables locally, organic and in vertical farm, that is going to be a big deal for the CO2 emission and water consumption of the Alcid eHome community. So that's pretty cool. Because it's not only about meat. Growing vegetable is also consuming water, of course. Not as much as meat apparently, but still, water is a very precious resource we need to worry about. And since we can control the nutrients the plants are getting in a vertical farm, we can actually make better vegetables than before. And because it is produced inside, we are not in danger of a crop failing because of bad weather or climate crisis or bugs or birds and so on, and don't need to use pesticides. And we don't even have to use soil for leafy green products. So that is also going to save on our resources. And of course, since we can stack it all on top of each other, the land area it takes up shrinks significantly, with not only saving the area we need, but also meaning we can get the vertical farms much closer to the cities, if not directly in the city, meaning less transport, meaning less emission. There are of course still limitations to what we can produce in these vertical farms, but new ideas are popping up all the time. And some are talking about when building skyscrapers, a whole floor or two or maybe more could be turned into a vertical farm for the people in the building. Or as Alstead E Home is doing it, building it into the whole community. So when they will open their happy cafes, as I talked about before here in this channel, that is under the Alstead umbrella and has already opened its first 2 happy cafes in Seoul. But when they are opening in the Alstead E Home community, the happy cafe would get local organic green vegetables made in vertical farms, saving on land area needed and about 95% of the water consumption, and it will be running on sunshine. Now that's a happy cafe. But eating a lot of meat is not just hurting our planet, it's also not good for our body to eat too much meat. And we have also seen a lot of professional athletes performing better because eating a plant-based diet. And I'm not vegan myself, but when I was in the top 5 in the world of freediver, I did go vegan up to a world championship and doing the championship, because not only is there so much science and experiments showing the benefits of a plant-based diet, but I could also feel it on my body if I had to perform at a competition on a meat diet compared to a plant-based diet. So for me there was no doubt when I was at a competition that I went plant-based, but I've never been a vegetarian because I just love bacon too much. But there are alternatives to real meat, and someone that is trying to make an alternative to real meat that looks, feels and tastes like meat is Beyond Meat. I just tried a burger with a beef from Beyond Meat. We have a place here in Denmark that is starting to making vegan burgers with Beyond Meat, so I ordered one to try it out. And firstly, it was a great burger. It tasted really good. And I actually think this is another thing. If it tastes good, I don't really care what it's made of. And that was a damn good burger. I will probably order that one again the next time. So if there is an alternative to meat like this, I don't think people would care so much. Of course, there will always be someone that will never eat anything but real meat, like someone that will never drive an electric car. But I think the majority of people would not care what it is made of, as long as it just tastes damn good. And this burger with Beyond Meat did. And if we can make healthier alternative, why not start using that? Like we see with the Happy Cafe, that will be a part of the Alstead E Home community that will make different healthy food, even many different versions depending on what your goal is, other than getting a healthy meal. If it's weight loss or muscle gains, they do actually think about this at the Happy Cafe. They will make all kinds of food that is good and healthy. Alstead even has the Happy Company that is making all kinds of healthy food and supplements, and the coffee you will get at the Happy Cafe is not just normal coffee, it is functional coffee. So compared to a normal coffee that doesn't give us much else than caffeine, but the functional coffee will give you a boost of energy, make you happy and have all kinds of nutrients in it. This is not just coffee, it is smart coffee if you will. And you don't have to wait for the Alstead E Home community to be built or a Happy Cafe to open near you. If you live in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, you can already buy some of the Alstead E Home coffee today from the Happy Company and try it out yourself. Link in the description. But Alcid is, of course, not making a vegan community. The community is for everyone, so they do have meat products at the cafe. But the Happy Cafe is, in my opinion, the cafe of the future, where they actually care about what they are serving you. They don't just serve you cakes and donuts like most cafes. It will be healthy foods. And they will even combine this with having fitness rooms for members at the cafes, so you can actually go there, do a workout, grab some healthy breakfast, sit and work in a cozy environment with your functional cup of coffee. And all the green vegetables in the Happy Cafe within the Alcid home community, of course, will be local, organic, grown in vertical farms, saving a lot of CO2 emission and a huge amount of water. So I think this concept is so cool. But if we think it's going to be tough switching people from ICE to EVs, it will be an even bigger challenge to switch people from a meat diet to a plant-based diet. Because as we all know, money talks, and the value of the livestock and their products sold in the US alone is about $180 billion. So they will not just stop cattle rearing, it is their livelihood. But as all old automakers have to make the expensive and very difficult switch to EV, the livestock industry will also have to find another source of income. But we might have seen a little sneak peek of what that might be with the new startups like Beyond Meat and maybe making vertical farms instead. So just like the car industry, we can't flick a switch and the whole car industry goes electric. It will take time because we need to change the whole refueling infrastructure, getting more mining companies to mine more the materials we need for batteries. We need the recycling industry of the batteries to grow and the price to come down of the batteries, and so on and so on. So a lot has to happen and it will take a bit of time, and the same thing goes for the livestock industry. We can't just stop the whole industry today. This will take time, but nonetheless we need to take this problem with livestock just as serious as the pollution from the transportation sector, especially taking into account that this is actually hurting our planet more than the entire transportation sector, and that the United Nations Environment Programme has just called meat the world's most urgent problem. It's really something to think about. So I, for one, have gotten a lot of things to think about and will definitely start making some different choices. But it will also take time for me to change my way of living. Because habits and food cultures in countries are not easily changed. But I can actually change my ways, one step at a time. And if we all do this, it will have a huge impact. And do you want 2 free stocks? Yeah, I thought so. If you use the link in the description to open a new Webull account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $250 just for opening the account, and another free stock valued up to $1,600 if you found your account with at least $100. And it will of course help support this channel as well. A win-win for the both of us. And you do have a chance to invest in both Bitcoin and Dogecoin with Webull as well. Enjoy. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.